Hello and welcome back to another episode of For the Love of Self podcast. I'm super pumped for this episode because I've been realizing that I haven't been talking about manifestation enough, and I have so much to say about it and have really focused on teaching manifestation in my one-to-one coaching a lot more and in Embodied Forces, my signature program. And I mean, Embody Forces was really built around manifestation. And I was like, you know what? I don't think we've been talking about manifestation enough on the podcast. So today's episode is really a simple how to manifest 101 from my point of view as an embodiment coach, as someone that focuses on somatic. So that's movement, breath, sound, as well as expressive arts practices. So let's get into it. So I'm curious, do you ever feel worried that you might not be able to manifest the way that other people are? I feel like manifestation has become such a hot topic in the last couple of years. And I know that there once was a time for myself where I felt like maybe my plot in life was to just like be the person that I was and that I would only be who I was. I was stuck being the way I was and that I was stuck with what I had in life because there was like this rhetoric going around for a long time about how we are kind of like who we are. Like 25 was like the cutoff. I can't remember what it was because such nonsense at this point, but like we don't change after the age of 25 or 30 or something like that. And that I kind of always felt like, man, this is just, I guess, who I am. I just got unlucky. And I really struggled with anxiety and depression for a long time, and I've definitely grown up really privileged in a lot of ways. But yeah, I just never felt like I was somebody that would get to have my dreams come true. And I even felt like I was like cursed at one point. So if you're feeling like this is resonating with you, this is going to be a good episode for you. And maybe you've already been trying like tons of manifestation tools that you see on TikTok or YouTube or wherever, like scripting or hypnosis and crystals and tarot cards or whatever, kind of rituals, full moon rituals. And I love all that stuff still. But I just have really learned a specific way to manifest that has been working for me as well as my clients. And so I want to share with you today all about that. So, like I said, I can completely understand if you're someone that has felt really stuck in this area and that maybe you have big dreams. And no matter where you are, like I know even when I became a mom, I had like a certain rhetoric in my head because I think there's certain things in our culture that they tell us about, when you get to this point, it's this way or whatever. And I think that once I had my daughter, I really panicked. Like 6 days after I had my daughter, I was like, oh, like I never finished my degree. I'm never going to follow my dream of like being an artist at the time was like really my biggest dream. And um, obviously I've grown and changed and I'm still really doing a lot of stuff with arts, but it's just kind of morphed into something different. And I just felt like such a panic come over me. And our last episode we had on Kendra Williams, who really focuses on this idea of matrescence and really touches on what I myself and many other mothers experienced during that time. So there's different stages that you might feel stuck, but you don't have to stay there. Yeah, as somebody that really struggled with my mental health for a long time, I really dreamed of being somebody that could be like consistently happy. Like I couldn't figure out what the secret was. And there was like a lot of factors, obviously, that I was facing. And I'm not going to get into that story today, but I just really wanted to be somebody who was like full of joy and lived a life that was fun and abundant and creative. And especially now that I have a family, like one of my biggest things has just been like, I just want to like play with my family as much as possible. But even so, when I watched The Secret, back in 2006, that was really for me the first time that I had a sense of hope that, um, yeah, like maybe my life could be better, that it could change. And I was even an atheist at the time, like a strong militant kind of atheist. And I still felt like really inspired by this idea that there might be like some benevolent, energetic maybe even being or something out there that would help me create a new reality and manifest the life of my dreams. Um, that I could have the love, the money, and the health that I really, really desired. Um, so of course, like immediately, like most people, the first thing I did after watching The Secret back in 2006 was I created a vision board with like $1 million home and me with like the love of my life and having like a super fit, healthy body. Um, and from there, like I tried everything, like everything I could get my hands on. I read as many books as I could about like personal growth um and manifestation and spirituality. And I spent years like researching and reading almost like every book that I could find. And while I was like, my life was definitely improving and I was implementing things that I was reading and learning about. Um, it wasn't until I discovered this one thing that I finally started to see like a much greater impact in my life and seeing like the manifestation results that I really wanted. I started making way more money. I met my now husband and I finally had the freedom of time to do what I wanted. That was like such a big thing, especially because, like I said, in the past, I really wanted to be a professional artist. I think that dream is still alive for me in many ways, but I feel much more on a different path at this chapter of my life, which it feels really on alignment and really good. I still like, I'm studying expressive arts therapy. So um, my art practice is just not as focused on like a personal practice per se. It's more, I mean, I do have a personal practice, but yeah, anyway, you get it. Um, so as somebody that wanted to have like, I didn't want to be bogged down by like a 9 to 5. I wanted the freedom of time to do what I wanted, such as like taking care of my health was a big thing because as somebody who really struggled with mental health in the past, I would always joke, and sometimes I still joke about this, from like, I just need 5 hours of self-care in the morning and then I'll be ready for the day. But yeah, to have time for my health and wellness practices, for making art and traveling and just, being with my family and all those sort of things. So if you've ever heard of this idea that you have to be before you can have or do what you desire, then I'm about to explain this idea to you. So, in order to manifest what you want, you have to be, do, and have. So, you must be, do, and have. So, if you think about this idea of the first one, which is be, it's this idea of being. It's your state of being, which is the energy that you emit. And because like attracts like, you must become the energetic match to your desires. When you become the energetic match to your desires, you are then embodied. And a very interesting thing happens when you become embodied. Not only does your desired life become so normalized, you might feel that you've actually just like quantum jumped, but that you also feel so deeply healed. I don't know. It's just like this calming, centered feeling. So, instead of worrying about like where's my manifestation and did I do enough subconscious reprogramming and am I being positive enough and am I keeping up with the same exact rituals? Did I do the rituals in the exact same way? I really want to invite you to focus on this idea of embodiment. That is what your state of being is really all about. When you want to manifest your desires, embodiment is the pathway. So today I'm going to teach you exactly the tools I use to become embodied so that you can manifest your dreams. So just to like give you a broad overview, I'm going to explain like the three I guess I'm going to call them phases, but they're not linear, okay? So I don't want you to think about step 1, step 2, step 3. Um but when you start practicing, like, you can do it that way. You can do like the first phase, the second phase, and the third phase. I'm going to present it that way, but I just want you to know that nothing is actually linear in reality. Um, and so there's that. And then within these tools or within these phases, and this is what we use in my program, Embodied Forces, the tools that we use are somatics, So that includes movement, breath work, and sound, which all of this regulates your nervous system. And then we also use expressive arts practices. So, through each phase of the embodied forces process, you're going to utilize these specific tools. So, I'll touch on that. Okay, so let's get started on the three phases that you need to become embodied and become the energetic match to your manifestations. So, the first phase is called Love Your Light. Before we even set our manifestations into motion, it's really, really important that we get aligned. So, we want to make sure that we're creating manifestations from an authentic, higher self place because you have to awaken and become aware and conscious to the fact of how much you are being influenced by society, especially at this time more than ever. We are constantly on our phones and seeing what other people are doing. We're constantly being advertised. There are even times where I'm like getting ads that I think like, is this the universe talking to me? And then I have to like check in with my somatic body to make sure that what like to see what's true, what is my like what's true for my higher self, you know? So this is really important. Otherwise, you might find yourself spinning your wheels with your manifestation. So if you've been stuck in obtaining a certain manifestation for yourself, this could be one of the reasons that you're blocked, is because maybe you going to veterinarian school is actually something that your parents wanted for you, even though you might have convinced yourself that you really want it and you're really excited. It's actually you taking action from a core wound of wanting to be loved by your parents. So obviously you can see this can get really complicated. So that's why it's so important to connect with your core self, your higher self, and really, um, yeah, like create intentions and manifestations from this authentic space. And with that, this requires a certain amount of safety. This phase is really about establishing somatic awareness and safety in the body in order to feel okay with being who you really are. And from here, you can set your manifestations in motion. And so with that, you don't have to do like all the manifestation rituals to like set your intentions at all. Like you can literally just write a list of what you are calling in. But if it brings you joy and it feels authentically aligned, make a vision board if that is fun for you. Just make sure that you don't have like if you cut out people for your vision board or something, or I'm saying cut out people because I grew up in analog. Um, so some of you might be making a Pinterest vision board, but yeah, just making sure that if you're having like people that represent you, that they kind of look similar to you, or like you don't really have their face in it, because that can kind of mess with your brain a little bit about like who's experiencing this manifestation. You know, you want to make sure that it feels like that's you in those images. So keep that in mind. But you could even just create a symbolic piece of art. You could write a poem. You could do anything creative to represent what your manifestations are, as long as it's activating the somatic experience for you and it's in alignment with your authenticity. This actually just doesn't matter as much as long as it's fun and you feel like you're expressing who you really are currently. Because of the phase of life that I'm in, I keep like a list of all of my manifestations right in the front of my journal, and every day I just look at them. I just look at the list, and I add stuff to it all the time. The second phase of my manifestation process is called Love Your Darkness, and this is really about shadow work, parts work, nervous system regulation. And the great thing about this phase is that there's nothing that you really need to do to go find out what it is that's blocking you from creating your manifestation from happening. You know, a lot of times people will be like, "Well, I think it's because like my dad said this to me," or, you know, whatever it is. And that might be true. Um, but you honestly actually don't need to go searching and digging around for whatever the trauma is. that's preventing you from having the beliefs, the identity, everything that you need in order to actually manifest what it is that you desire. Because what actually ends up happening when you set your manifestations in motion is all of a sudden a bunch of floodgates are going to open, and everything that is blocking your manifestation is going to be shown to you. So sometimes people feel like manifestation isn't working for them because they'll say like, I'm going to like manifest this like new job or a love or something. And then all of a sudden all this like really difficult shit starts coming up. You're getting parking tickets, or you got fired from your job, or you got dumped, or and maybe it's nothing that extreme. It could just be as simple as like, God, I'm like fighting with my mom right now, or like I have this friend who like keeps kind of insulting me and stuff. It could just be small things. But all of these are just mirrors that are showing you where you are blocked. So that's why I'm saying you don't need to go rooting around and digging for stuff to see what it is that's blocking you. It literally is going to come to you. So when it comes, this is where we can really start practicing the emotional and energetic mastery that we need to move through the block and heal it and nurture it. And then you can start yeah, like the next phase, basically. So in this phase, you're really starting to recognize the things that activate you. And so within that, you have parts, and these are aspects of yourself that could be like a 7-year-old version that's really triggered because maybe you're not getting your needs met in your relationship, or there's a limiting belief there. And through this, what you do is you really start to learn to obviously regulate your nervous system so you're not activated. And let me just explain a little bit too, real quick, for me personally, and it's different for everyone. And it also depends how activated I am by triggers. But if I'm like really activated, I might actually just like kind of suffer through the trigger like the first day, just be like totally my little kid self and throw a temper tantrum. And then let's say like the next day, I actually start doing the parts work, the nervous system regulation, the limiting beliefs work, and integration process. Um, so just know that it's like if you're being triggered and then your response isn't as like emotionally uh and energetically intelligent as you hoped it would be, that's okay. This is a skill that you're building. And so this is all that like dark shadow work that you really want to be able to like be curious about and be like, like, okay, like I was a little bit triggered when so and so did that. Like maybe it's because I feel disrespected when they do that, and that I need to communicate that. And like I said, in all of these phases, we're using somatic. So we're creating a somatic awareness in the body, and like your body is going to talk to you. Like for me, my throat gets really like hard and stiff when it's time for me to communicate a boundary or whatever my needs are. Um, and so we learn all of this over time. It's a muscle that grows. So be kind and patient and know that when you're activated or triggered by something or someone, that this is a growing opportunity, and that you have the power to totally emotionally and energetically navigate it with ease. And with that, the shame and the blame and all the difficult parts that come with these little traumas that we have, we ultimately get to learn to integrate with aspects of ourselves that maybe in the past we didn't like, and learn to love them even deeper. Okay, so here is phase 3 of the embodied forces method, and that is to take loving action. So, like in the first phase, you've really learned to love your light, be your most authentic self, be more embodied, be more somatically aware. You've been triggered and activated, seeing all the roadblocks that are coming through. Um, and integrating with all the shame and all the feelings that you are having come up in your body and your mind. And now is the time where once the road is clear and you're aligned, you're integrated. Now is the time to really step into what you might call the masculine energy. This is going to be so much easier to do when you're not carrying a bunch of baggage. of shame, blame, and guilt and shadow and all that. So you're taking intuitive, aligned action through your visceral intelligence in your body. You're intuitively taking steps toward and through fear in the 3D reality towards what it is that you desire. And this is so much easier when you have regulated your nervous system because there are so many sneaky ways that your mind and body will trick you into not doing the steps that you need to do to move towards your manifestation, and they are sneaky. So once you do the phase of loving your light and you love your darkness, it's so much easier to take the loving action because you can be with all of it. It's just this incredibly holistic, universal love and experience that you get to have. And I can't wait for you to like try this out and to really start seeing your manifestations come through. So I think that's everything. I know that's everything. And this is the process of manifestation for that I use, that I have used to manifest the home of my dreams. As if you're watching YouTube, you know that my current background is like construction zone and it's going so slow. And anybody that has bought a fixer upper knows exactly what I'm talking about. But here we are, we're fixing up our home, and I'm really enjoying marriage. I'm really enjoying motherhood, and I'm enjoying my career. And I just feel like life is good. It's so funny. I meant to give you a life update as well, which is that like I really wanted to start doing life updates on the podcast. Um, and that is that it's been funny lately. That I've recently been journaling on traveling and just being able to like have money come in easily and effortlessly while still getting to like travel. And I've been traveling so much lately. And I think sometimes it's funny with manifestation, at least for me, like I'll have a certain idea of what that is, but then it shows up differently than I expected. And so I think I've been like really desiring luxury travel. So I'm still calling that in. And recently I've been so grateful because we've been able to go to Seattle and visit my family. And then my sister-in-law unexpectedly got married because she got offered a job in Japan. So we quickly went down to San Diego, and I love San Diego. And it was so nourishing. And then we had some family visiting for a little bit, and now we're going to be heading over to Mount Shasta. And so, which is going to be just, I like, if you haven't been to Mount Shasta, it's so healing. It's so amazing. And I'm so looking forward to it. Um, and life has just been really great in a lot of ways. And there's also been darkness too. There's been shadows and there's been boundaries. There's been a lot of boundaries that I've been having to set lately. Um, so I am working through these steps with you. We're always going to be growing and manifesting more and bigger and better and just changing and realigning all the time as we shift into new chapters of our lives. So just knowing that it's okay to like make a choice about what it is that you do want right now and know that it's okay to change your mind later. Um, and that all of us are going through it. I'm no guru. I've just figured out what works for me. So if you're someone like myself, where maybe you've struggled a little bit with different manifestation tools and you want to try something different, I want to invite you to give this a try with the somatic practices and expressive arts and just give it a go. What do you got to lose? I want to thank you so much for tuning in and listening. If you have the time, I would be so grateful if you're able to leave a rate and review on the podcast, as it really does help bring it up in the ranks so that more and more people can start manifesting the life of their dreams. Send it to a friend who needs it and needs a little bit of a different perspective on manifestation. And yeah, we'll catch you in the next one. Thanks again for tuning in.